a chemist has 8 liters of 25% saline solution. By the way, saline means salt. We're basically saying salt water. So it's 25% salt water. She needs a mixture that is 40% salt water. We want to know how many liters of that 8 liters should she drain and replace with a 70% saline solution in order to get 40% saline. There's a lot of information going on here. It's really important for you to have a clear understanding of what's happening. So if you haven't checked out the previous video with the red food coloring and showing what happens when you mix the two together, make sure that you do that. It's important to have an understanding of what is actually happening here. So check that out if you haven't yet. But there's 2 methods to approach this. Two methods that we can use to approach this. The first method I like to call the beaker method. And it's to think that we actually have these things in 3 different beakers. So I had beaker 1. That is my 25% saline. So that's beaker 1. And I have beaker 2. That is my 70% saline. And then my goal beaker, my goal mixture, goal beaker. Beakers, remember, are these things. You remember these from chemistry class. Things like that. My goal beaker is 40%. 40% saline. Now, I know that I'm starting with 8 liters of the 25%. But it also says that I'm draining some of that. So I'm going to get rid of some of that. I'm going to dump some of that out and replace with the exact same amount of 70% saline. The question is, how much do I drain? And so that's going to be my variable. That's what I'm going to say is X. I know I'm not going to end up with 8 liters of this. I know I'm going to pour some out. So I'm going to call X the amount that I pour out. And I'm replacing that exactly with 70% saline. Meaning, ultimately, I'm going to end with 8 liters. I'm going to end my mixing with 8 liters, because whatever I pour out of here, I replace from here. So essentially what's happening, visually, is I have 8 minus X liters of 25% saline that I'm adding to X liters of 70% saline to get a mixture that's 8 liters, that's 40% saline. To make an equation out of this, we have to use those percentages and those amounts. Think of it this way. If this is supposed to be 40%, it's 8 liters of liquid, that's 40% saline, how does that mean, how much actual salt is in there? It's 40% of 8. That's how much salt is in that beaker. So 40% of 8, which we'll just write like that for right now, 0.40 times 8, that's how much is going to be in that ending beaker. That's how much salt is going to be in that ending beaker. Which means I can use the same principle over here. So 25% of 8 minus X, and then 70% of X. And there's my equation. 0.25 times quantity 8 minus X plus 0.7 times X equals 0.4 times 8. Keep in mind, if we were just mixing these two things together, I'd have like 8 and then X, and I'd just be ending up with 8 plus X. The only reason why this is different, and this is kind of weird, is because I'm actually draining some of this to replace it with something else. But just think, how much am I ultimately using of the first beaker? How much am I ultimately using of the second? And how much am I going to have in my goal? That's what we should be thinking. And then what are the percentages there? From here, we can just solve this equation. 0.25 distributed across those parentheses, we get 2 minus 0.25x plus 0.7x equals 0.4 times 8 is 3.2. Combine the like terms here, I get 2 plus 0.45x equals 3.2. Just going to check that, make sure my math is right. 0.7 minus 0.25. 0.7 minus 0.25. 0.45, yeah, so that works out. Minus 2. 0.45x equals 1.2. divide both sides by 0.45. And then I have that x is equal to 1.2 divided by 0.45. So 2.666666. So about 2.7 liters. Specifically 2 2/3. But it's okay in this case to say 2.7, to round it to 2.7. So again, what this is saying is that I'm taking from my 8 liters, I'm dumping out 2 2/3 liters, 2.7 liters. I'm pouring that out. Imagine that this is exactly 8 liters, filled to the brim. So I'm pouring it out. There's some left over inside. Then I'm filling it back up, the same amount that I dumped out. I'm filling back up with 70% saline. Get a spoon, mix it all up. We have the 40% all throughout. This is the first method, the beaker method. And if this method is a little bit too confusing for you, there's another method that we can use. So check out the next video for another way to think about this.